The Puma Deviate Nitro 3 Fade. 50 plus miles in, got a chance to break it in, and now I can give you guys my official thoughts on the shoe. Is this a good successor to the Nitro 2? Let's talk about it. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're already subscribed, watching the content, thanks so much. I love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of other updates and things of that sort. So, without further ado, let's begin. Specs of the shoe, somewhere up here. And we'll just get right into some of my thoughts. But first we'll have to take a look at the outsoles at this period of time. And I will say this, just right off the rip from where I was skimming it, things look okay. As in, it's 50 miles, it shouldn't be too worn out, right? Well, to be fair, I've had shoes that have seen worse within 50 miles, such as like the Tempo Next Percent, which would break immediately, mostly because it was using like air pods or air bubbles kind of in its product. Rubbers on the shoes that would just not function, but here we have a good balance of things, right? Of course, the shoe does weigh a little bit more as a result because we do have a foam rubber combination, and the areas of my interest, of course, are always going to be on the interior side of the shoe and sort of the middle sections of both of them respectively. And from what I see at this current glance, it looks like there's a little bit of smoothing out over in this area of my left foot, sort of as I would expect with the current drop of this shoe. As you can see, it is 10 millimeters. We're going to get into that real quick, some of my thoughts on that. So that is going to be interesting to see that there's wear specifically there. I'm also looking in the toe box area. There's just a little bit of, smoothing out in like the toe sort of area. Middle of the shoe looks pretty okay at this time. And I think the same can be said about the right foot, except it doesn't have nearly as much wear on this anterior side, more of the toe box side, as I was kind of alluding to earlier. So, why am I bringing up the 10 millimeter offset? So, when I do compare this to the Puma Deviate Nitro 2, you'll see why this is kind of important. 10 millimeters is a higher drop, or lower, depending on how you look at it, than the Deviate Nitro 2. So it's basically gained about 4 millimeters of stack as a result of a couple of new mechanical changes to the shoe, and as a result, I would be expecting more of the toe box of this shoe to start taking a beating. And that being said, it looks like there is some wear that's beginning, but at 50 miles I'm not really concerned. It looks like if this kind of wear and tear goes on at this period of time, I anticipate it will get to at least 400 plus miles. So, all of that being said, what's working on the shoe, what's not working? The things that I love about the shoe right off the rip is its drop, first and foremost. As somebody with like minor femoral anteversion, which is like when my knees slightly cave in just from natural, biomechanics and things like that, 10 millimeters as an offset is like the absolute limit of where I can go before I'm not utilizing my natural biomechanics for an advantage while running or training, right? So, over time, from using various shoes like the Tempo Next Percent, the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 1 and 2, where they were like more of an 8 millimeter stack, you learn to kind of adapt to these higher stacks, which in turn are utilizing, in my opinion, more. I still struggle with this, and I know there's a challenge and some kind of like theories behind all this, where the higher stack of the shoe, at least this was my belief, and I think it's highly contested, is that the higher the stack, the more calf you're utilizing in the shoe and less hamstring, glute, quads. And the reason I say that is because I believe that's the opposite mindset of what it actually is, which means that the higher offset is actually causing you to activate more muscles. But again, just highly contested, and it's still kind of up in the air, or the jury's in the air with that one, and I know there's tons of studies on that, but the point here is that by having the 10 millimeter offset, you do get that high heel effect, okay? So when you do, what happens is, like, think of like walking on your toes, right? You're activating more calf, so in a way it's sort of causing more activation in that area, and it's isolating it, in my opinion, and as a result, it's conserving the rest of the muscles for your race day, for example. When you drop the stack to like 6, 4, or even like a natural stack if you're running in a track spike. So when you use those, when you go on those races or things like that, you're going to have more glutes, more hamstring available to you because you didn't wear them out in training with a 10 millimeter stack. That's just my theory on it. I may have this completely opposite, and if I do, disregard what I just said and apply it the other way around, where I'm utilizing more muscle with this shoe, and then on race day, the focus is more calf, which I guess also makes sense in triathlon. So if you have a higher stack shoe or a lower stack shoe in triathlon, then yeah, it's going to isolate the calf a little bit more because you've already used your quads up while biking and you used your upper body for swimming. Tangents, doesn't matter. Let's get back into the shoe. Next things I like about the shoe, again, is the upper. I do like the breathability of this particular pocket right here. On a hot day like I had today out in Illinois, and it's the Midwest, it's nice to have this pocket to have just a smidgen of evaporation, and it's good for post-run drying of the shoe. So sometimes shoes will retain moisture, and that has a slew of problems. Which one in the immediate for me is that when you use the shoe later on for a workout or for a 2-a-day run, it's kind of soaked and it's just gross and it's not really pleasant to run in. So having this opening and just having the overall shoe's breathability does help in allowing it for a 2-a-day type of workout. The next thing I do like that's a change from the Deviate Nitro 2 is that this Nitro foam, not the Nitro Elite section up here, but the Nitro foam running all the way across the bottom of the shoe, I think is highly effective in keeping the shoe and I guess your toe box comfortable, if that's the right terminology I want to use. Mostly because this is a slightly more dense foam and it's designed to be more protective of, you know, your feet and protective of this rubber area. So if this rubber does crack, this is your next line of defense to the Nitro Elite foam, which if you start running directly on the Nitro Elite, you can start causing some issues like slamming the ground in a way that's not natural for your foot on concrete and things like that. So this new feature across the shoe I like as of right now, and it allows you, I think, to go a little bit heavier when it comes to adding more speed with this shoe. And the reason for that is, again, when we compare this to Nitro 2, is that the foam setup was overall quite different. But in this variation of the shoe, it allows you to have more of the same type of ride you would have had in, like, I don't know, I guess the viewers of this channel would know, like the Nike Pegasus Turbo and the Turbo 2, that you have this like 2-stack of foam. The toes of the shoe, or the drop of the shoe, allows you to be more mid to forefoot aggressive, and as a result, that gives you just a little bit more speed in your daily training, which people, I think, the average customer is looking for, right? You're not necessarily looking for a slower shoe in this kind of context, but I think what you would be looking for is a daily trainer that can provide you speed and comfort, and then you have a race day shoe which kicks it to the next level when you need it to. So is that the Nitro Elite 3? Not totally sure yet. I don't have that shoe. Maybe one day I will, and we'll kind of discuss it. So those are the big pros, is the overall foam structure. I like the rubber structure, and the upper have been super cool so far with the shoe. I do like the tongue here, and like as I've observed it, it looks almost like, what's the word I'm looking for? It looks like two like foam pads are kind of sandwiching together, and as a result it gives you this little buffer, so when you tie the shoe down it doesn't feel like the shoelaces are digging into your foot immediately. It gives it a little bit of breathing room because the materials do have this gap in between. So that was an issue I had with something like the Zoom Fly 5, I believe it was, from Nike, where if you tied the shoe a certain way, you would cut some blood flow and it would feel like a headache in your foot, whereas here we kind of eliminate that headache sensation as of right now. So that's just something that's been pretty good overall with the shoe. The fit has been awesome. I haven't had any complaints about, you know, the toe box necessarily. The only cautionary piece I think I've had at this time is because of the drop being so high. Depending on your running form, what happens is that your toes will slam into the ground and they'll kind of continue rolling and leaves your toenails kind of dragging outward and having a little bit more space. It's hard to describe. It's like, imagine if, I don't know, we'll take like the notebook, right? If I like slam my fingers into the notepad, right? But then I push my fingers continuously upward. Like the fingers on my you know, the finger prints will stay, and as I keep dragging the against the paper, what's going to happen is the fingerprints are going to stick and the nails start kind of going outward, right? So that's what's happening with the shoe here too, is like your foot's going to stick, and then as you keep pushing, your nails are just going to stick out a little bit more and they're going to impact the toe box. I had this issue with the Tempo Next Percent when I ran in it for like 2 weeks straight, and what happened with that was I would start getting bloody toenails, or like I would start getting irritation in my toes just because of how the shoe's impact was overall slamming the toe box and just how your toes were moving in the shoe as a result. So I don't know if any of that's going to make any sense, but maybe you'll understand the sensation, or if you look at your shoes and they're just like a little bit bloody afterwards from your toes cutting into one another, that might be kind of what I'm trying to get at here. That might be the cautionaries. Are there any major cons? I think the only con with the shoe for real is mostly its weight. It is just running heavier, and despite having the carbon plate and its foam structure the way it is, I could imagine the shoe could be a little bit lighter by maybe removing this heel, you know, support, which overall kind of looks like a decal. I don't know how much it reinforces the shoe, if it's just a cool piece, or if it's like the Infinity React where this like heel cup piece really does genuinely lock down the foot way better. Just in my opinion, I think you can get it to a little bit lower, if not the exact same weight as the Nitro 2 in terms of being a successor. You know, you want the shoe to be light and you want it to be fast. You don't want it to necessarily be safer than its successor unless the successor was just a total disaster, which in my opinion, the Deviate Nitro 2 was not. So I would think that this shoe can go a little bit more wild, and in a way they did with how the foam is set up. They did with keeping the upper mostly the same, with adding some air pockets here, and then yeah, I guess just having a better heel lockdown supposedly is kind of nice, but again, I just don't see any difference in terms of lock at this time, so it's just kind of, the jury's up in the air with that one. So 50 plus miles deep. I love this shoe right now. Puma doesn't sponsor me for anything, obviously, so Puma, this is your what's the word I'm looking for? This is your cue to sponsor me so I can get more product from you, and you would let me say more good things about it, because like, hey, this shoe is great, and I kinda am a fan of your Daily Trainer product. I haven't gotten into your race day product yet. I'm assuming if it's anything like this product, you guys are using your noggins and you have something good to show me. So let's get the wheels turning on this, right? Will you know, sending me a few shoes in the next 2 weeks get the wheels spinning here? Like, I don't know. We'll kind of see how that goes. But anyways, Deviate Nitro 3 Fade. Wonderful daily trainer. Gonna continue using it. We're gonna run this thing to 400 plus miles. We're gonna see where it goes. So that's my stance at this time with Puma product, which again has amazed me in the last year as a sight unseen, despite the fact that they have had massive track prominence in the background that I've kind of paid attention to, but kind of just didn't also. So yeah, nice product. So if you guys disagree or agree with the assessment, let me know in the comments below. If you have this shoe and you have a different thought about it, or things you have questions about, let's discuss. Let's kind of figure this out. Let's see if we can make the shoe better or choose a better shoe for the both of us, you know? So I guess we'll leave it at that for now. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys in the next one.